Everybody. I think this will be a short one, but I am trying to again perfect some liquid phase sintering and low sintering trials with 17.4 Virtual Foundry steel filament. Just to show these are printed and not because I forgot to clean them up before going live. There is still the skirt around them. These are just 3 impellers from a user on the subreddit. I'm going to be doing a few things here. We'll do a baseline, a copper infiltration test, standard the way that I've done before, and a copper infiltration test with a little bit of flux. This is the type of flux I will be using. I'm going to mix this up with my copper putty over here. So it'll be applied the same way that I did the previous tests with just a small paintbrush. Also, to note, I came to the shop to clean out the crucible and forgot that I had put this piece in, which was a baseline steel printed part for a second center. Well, it actually turned out pretty solid. I was able to break it with a hammer, but it it feels pretty good. It also has some pretty good characteristics of steel. I don't know if you can see this on the live, but it certainly shines like steel does in the areas that I just gave a quick polish. And it is also, well, magnetic. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do, based on this, because it went through 2-phase center and debind at the same low temp that I've done before, I think I'm going to tweak my cycle for these parts as well to cool down and then ramp back up to a higher temp for hold. We'll see if that does anything good for the prints. So anyway, again, this should be fairly quick. But once I grab everything I need, we're going to be laying down some ballast. Just a couple of scoops for the base. This ballast is mixed with a little bit of graphite for the steel. And I'll be careful to position the parts in a meaningful manner so that I don't forget where they are. So the baseline part, all that's going to be is I'm going to put it in the far right corner facing the kiln so that I know exactly which one's the baseline. And I will position the other 2 parts in adjacent corners so that we know. Alrighty. So again, as I did in the previous live, the impeller I'm going to place face down, face being the port with the impeller, top being the base. So that'll go in just like this. Top right corner, press firmly. You know the drill. So the next ones, I will be mixing up a little bit of the copper. And again, this is not a very large piece, so proportionately it's probably a little more than I need, but I'll use this for the second part too. So this will be the baseline copper. Pop that in there and mix it in with a little bit of ethyl. So not a lot. We'll just pour a splash. Okay, that's probably about a capful. And that's enough to reconstitute things so that we have a nice viscous paintable putty. We'll mix this up as quick as we can. These are frozen so that it stays moist for the paint process. Might have added a little too much alcohol. As you can see, it's pretty runny, but I'm gonna go ahead and just let that sit for a second while I put this up, and maybe some will evaporate in the meantime. Hope everyone's having a good night or day, depending on whenever you watch this. It's always a good time for an experiment. Okay, so we'll move this out of the way, clear some surface area. So we'll do this for the baseline. Oh, sorry, copper, and this will be copper plus flux. So it's sort of thickened up a little bit. Okay, just gonna apply this around the surface, trying to get the metal on here, and I'm gonna get this into every groove and crevice, so that the idea is it soaks in, the copper is infiltrated into the part, and you know, hopefully we end up with a little stronger part with a sort of an alloy of the copper and the steel. So just going to make sure we cover that pretty generously. All right, and I'm going to do a couple coats because it's a little watery, not watery, just liquidy. And I want to make sure it has good coverage of the metal. Okay, I'll do one more in the back. Not a super precise method, but we're just testing here. So we should be able to see the results, even if we're not the cleanest with our paint lines. All right, let that dry. Baseline, liquid phase center. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the bottom right whenever that dries. The next thing that we'll do is apply some of this flux. So all I'm going to do is mix this up into the same copper infiltration mixture that I have. And again, not incredibly precise, but I'll probably put about a half a teaspoon, since it's a small part, about yay much. In here, we will make sure we seal this back up. Alright, good, and give this a good stir. So this should actually thicken it up a pretty good bit. And when this dries, from what I've read, I've used this before, but what other people say, it kind of crystallizes and forms a nice outer shell, which is good for us too, but we're really just trying to see if baseline liquid phase center works the same or at a lesser degree with the flux. The flux should help these two metals alloy at the centering peak temps, and also should reduce the porosity that we are getting from the standard steel filament. So this is actually applying a lot nicer. You can't probably see it in the camera, but it's definitely looking like a nicer coat. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to apply a couple of coats to that and get these in the crucible. So again, this is just a quick test, and based on the results that I saw with the this bottle opener here, I'm going to adjust the firing schedule to have a bit of a hold at the high point and then ramp down and then go back up, so that we get sort of a two-phase, two peaks, so that we see if we can get a little denser part. And again, these impellers were printed by on my 10-log TLD3 Pro IDEX printer using Virtual Foundry's 17.4 steel filament. So this is metal 3D printing at home with some basic maker gear. You can pick up a spool of the Virtual Foundry filament on their website, and I will link to them. Not affiliated, just like their product. So, okay, that looks good enough. I got some extra, but it wasn't precise to begin with. So I'll just clean the brush enough so that it's not ruined for tomorrow. And I've already got the baseline part in the far right corner. This is about dry. I'm going to put the regular copper impeller. It looks like this. Sorry, not copper impeller. It's a steel impeller with copper infiltration paste on top. We're going to put this in the bottom right corner facing the kiln. So push that down. I don't really want this on my fingers, so we'll wear a glove for that. Probably should have done that in the beginning, but oh well. This one, just so I don't get it confused, is going to be across from the baseline part up here at the top. Top left center. Top left corner. Okay. Now, all we gotta do is just cover these up with some ballast. Just a couple of scoops. That's good enough. These are small parts. And all we gotta do is just give it a shake to make sure that all the crevices are covered with the ballast, and we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the kiln, and we'll see the results tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.